back at the back. Thank you. Hello, good evening. It's good to see you here, my brothers and sisters. Is anyone here for the first time? You've been here before? Welcome back. Thank you for coming, and good evening to you. If you are watching online, very welcome to you. So tonight, the one with $1 million smile is here. And that's what everybody says. The topic is the secrets of the smile. And it's not a coincidence that Sister Maureen is going to talk about the secrets of smile, because she's an embodiment of a wonderful smile. I would encourage you to go and read more about her biography online, because it's kind of extensive. But briefly, she is the programs director of the Brahma Kumaris, and she represents the Brahma Kumaris at the UN. She has also
a smile. Sometimes you just smile knowingly. Yes, I understand what you want, what's going on. And something that I didn't actually realize was that if you smile, then there's like a feedback mechanism on the brain. And so a smile actually releases the hormones that make you feel happier. So it's actually very useful to smile because then you actually increase the possibility of happy feelings, and then you smile more, and then you have more happy feelings, and it's a win-win situation, or what would we say, a virtuous circle. And I think also what happens with a smile is that if you smile, people don't feel so threatened by you. People feel that they can come closer to you. They can feel the warmth of your personality through a smile. And so do keep smiling. But of course, the smiles that we give are not superficial smiles. It's important that we smile not just externally, but a real smile comes from the inside. A real smile is an expression of something that's happening, an emotion happening within me. And I've witnessed many beautiful smiles, and I think the most beautiful smile I've witnessed is a person who was the head of our organization from 1969 to 2007 when she passed on. Her name was Dadi Prakashmani. But she had the most wonderful presence and the most wonderful smile. Probably should have brought a picture. And I used to say to her, Dadi, when you smile, it's like the sun rises. It literally was that. It created such an atmosphere of light, an atmosphere of goodness, an atmosphere of safety, an atmosphere of warmth, an atmosphere of encouragement. It was a very, very special smile. Oh, you have a photo of her? Oh, wonderful. That sort of, there's bigger smiles than that. Doesn't quite capture it completely, but yes. But you can see the sunshine on her face. You might want to pass it around. People won't be able to see it from here. But there are other photos where she'd smile even more broadly. But you can see actually that the smile engulfs her whole face, right? And especially her eyes. She's very much smiling from her eyes. And it's really, can you see? That smile is the expression of a beautiful inner being, a beautiful soul within. And she was someone who everybody felt comfortable with. Just leave it there, it's okay. And she was someone who, did we show it to the webcast? Hold on. In case anybody hasn't seen this smile, how would you show it? Just put it, where's the camera? Just like that? Hope you can see it. Beautiful smile. Okay, keep it here. She can be with us. So yes, it created such an atmosphere that everybody felt they belonged. And, she had such dignity in her smile. And so actually, if the smile would have been a superficial smile, or, sometimes people do this, just smile like that, and you think, well, don't bother, maybe they're trying. Then it wouldn't have the same impact. A superficial smile doesn't have an impact. But yes, you can see that the person at least is trying to be warm, even if they're not feeling it from the inside. And maybe eventually it'll loop back and they'll become their smile. But a real smile is when you really smile from the inside. And so that means that to smile from the inside, you need a state of inner contentment, a state of inner happiness. And when we see today's world and how people are living, we see our own lives, there are many challenges, right? Is it just plain sailing? That's it all the time? It's not possible in today's world. And of course, if things happen, challenges happen around me, then these are the things that can begin to take my smile away. And so I need to have a lot of inner strength to maintain that inner smile, that inner contentment, that inner happiness. And, there's a few sayings, you may be familiar with them. Happiness is a daily decision. So it's a conscious decision at the beginning of the day that no matter what happens, I don't want to give away my happiness. I'm choosing my words there because I could say, well, I don't want to lose my happiness. But actually, when we get affected by something, we actually give away our happiness. And that's really not a very sensible thing to do. And of course, some situations are very, very hard and very extreme. So I don't mean to gloss over those and say, oh, it's all fine, just smile. No, some things are very, very hard to deal with. But it's incredible how people, even in the most difficult situations, are able to, usually through their faith, usually through their inner strength, are able to maintain their happiness. There was somebody who has passed on now many years ago, and he was, during the war, he was an Assistant Secretary General at the UN, and during the war, he was a prisoner of war, and, it was quite tough. But he decided not to lose his happiness. It's a very lovely book that he wrote, and the title of the book is Most of All, They Taught Me Happiness. And this is by Robert Muller, his name is. And I don't know if that book is still around, I suppose so. But he decided to write, and he had to write on the walls. There was no paper, there was, I can't remember now all the details, but in the midst of a very dark, a very difficult situation, he continued to maintain his inner light and his happiness. And he actually helped many, many others through that. So it's not impossible, it's not easy, but it's not impossible. But I can maintain that inner contentment and inner happiness when I feel that I'm happy, not just with the situations, but overall, I'm happy with life and I'm happy with myself. And if my smile isn't coming naturally from the inside, then what is it that I'm unhappy with that is preventing me from having that natural inner smile? Now, is it that maybe, and if I'm unhappy with, excuse me, to sneeze and so I was telling you so it didn't go all over the mic. Sorry about that. Anyone? Okay. Yeah, sneeze over. I don't want anyone to get a big loud sneeze in their ears on the webcast. So if there's something, if I'm not happy with my life generally, then it indicates, it's okay, sound is okay, then it indicates that there's something that I'm not happy about. There's something about myself that I'm not happy with. So I need to look at that. Maybe I'm not happy with, maybe I'm not happy with the fact that I'm critical about people. Maybe I'm not happy about the fact that I'm jealous of somebody. Maybe I'm not happy about the fact that I get angry easily. There are we all have certain habits, certain traits, and we're not happy with them. We wish they were different. We want to change them. All right? And so inner happiness it can be related to what's happening outside of me, but even if I'm reacting to something and I say that person made me react, or that situation made me react, well, the situation is there, but the reaction is in me. So who's responsible? And we know in life we can't change situations to be exactly as we want them to be. Life flows on, people do different things, situations change. Nothing's constant in this world. And I don't have control over that. But I do have some control over how I respond to the situations in life. So something I'm not happy about in myself, something that I need to change, something I need to look at. And the interesting thing is that often if I do begin to change something happening inside, my reactions, for example, or my traits, whatever, anger, jealousy, whatever it is, and we all know when we, do something or say something that's negative, it doesn't make us smile, does it? It doesn't make the other person smile for sure, but it doesn't make us smile. We heard a statistic in one of our teachings just last week that if you get angry with someone, the impression of that anger stays with the other person for at least 6 months. It's interesting, isn't it? But you think about it, it's valid. If somebody gets very angry with me, I become quite hesitant about that person, right? I don't want to approach them. It takes me quite a long time to again trust that if I'm easy and open with them, that they're not going to then get angry with me. So anger actually destroys trust. And of course, I stopped trusting myself. Am I going to get angry any minute when I don't want to be? And of course, it becomes a habit. So inner happiness is about changing some of those traits inside and taking back very conscious control, the autonomy of who I am, and understanding how to use spiritual principles. And there are several spiritual principles that operate in life. And one of them, you will be familiar, the law of karma philosophy. And that is that whatever I do has an equal and opposing reaction. Every action has an equal and opposing reaction. And so, of course, if I'm doing good and I give out goodness, goodness is going to come back to me. If I give out suffering, suffering's going to come back to me. And so where's the choice there? Being aware of those spiritual principles then encourages us to begin to change and begin to shift. And it's not just our actions that come back to us and have repercussions, but even, and certainly our words do. You know how it is, you've said something and then you wish you didn't say it, but you can't put the words back in your mouth, can you? They've come out and that's it. That's why it's very important, and I've made this mistake a few times. You get an email and then you react and you write. It's in black and white what your reaction is, and you can't erase it. If it's verbal, well, did you say that? Did you say the written? Be very careful about emails or texts or, WhatsApp or whatever it is. But yes, once I react, then I have to see the consequences of that. But even our thoughts have consequences. And I always say that whatever I think comes back to me like an echo. Really. And you will have seen this in life. And if you, even though you don't say anything to somebody, but in your mind you're criticizing them, you're upset with them, how will that relationship be? They will pick up your vibration and they will respond with their vibration. So I've set up an interaction that is not then useful for either of us, and it's not going to allow me to grow. So spiritual principles, very important to be aware of, to help me to be in the world and act in such a way that will enable me to maintain and to grow my inner happiness. And there's another spiritual principle that we learn about, which is that if there's something, if you lack something, then donate it. And you can say this with, okay, if I know I lack humility and I have ego, then let me practice showing humility, donate it, show it, give it, and it'll come to me. But there was another very interesting example somebody told me just the other day from his life, his own life's experience. He said that he started, he lives at our retreat center, and he said that he discovered that he had an intolerance to yeast. And that meant that he couldn't eat bread, and he liked his toast in the morning. So he remembered the spiritual principle that if something's troubling you, donate it. So every week he would be asked to go and buy the fresh yeast, for making the bread in the kitchen. And he said to himself, and normally, if, as would be any system, he's living there, he going out to do the shopping, and then, you take from the petty cash, etc., because it's for the whole community. But he said to himself, okay, but this item I'm not going to take money for. I will donate this. So every week he bought the yeast and he gave it as a donation. And he did this, he said, for a couple of months. And then after that, his yeast intolerance went away. It was very interesting. And then he said, I could have my toast in the morning again. I thought that was a very interesting example of applying a spiritual principle. Let me donate this, then it will stop troubling me. So you can think about how you can apply these things in different areas of your life. And another spiritual principle is that the most important thing is to maintain a good atmosphere wherever I am. And we have the saying that my attitude creates the atmosphere. And I remember one set of teachings we had where it was like an analogy that, you know, according to your mood or your attitude, say you have this vibration, atmosphere around you, and you carry it with you. And I had this image of walking along with this cloud over my head and taking it everywhere I went and infesting the other atmospheres with it. And I thought, well, is that cloud a happy cloud? Or is it an unhappy cloud? But we have an impact. Atmosphere has an impact. And if somebody challenges you, your first thing would be, oh, I have to prove myself. I have to defend myself. And then you do that. They defend themselves more. You end up with this very heated situation. Could even be violent, you don't know. So if I do, so that's our first reaction. But if I remind myself that what's more important is to keep the atmosphere good, then I'll put that above my need to defend my ego or my prestige. And that will make everybody see things more positively. And I remember once, it was many years ago, I was in a meeting that was planning a peace conference. And it's like World War III broke out in this meeting. And the people were arguing. Well, one woman who was financing a lot of it, it wasn't a Brahma Kumaris meeting, but we were supporting them with, you know, our presence and, you know, ideas. But she was financing and she was accusing some of the other people there of not using the finances correctly. And it was very acrimonious. And I'm sitting there and I thought, well, I don't really have anything to say in this because I'm not involved in this side of things. And I don't really want to take sides. And I said, okay, the best thing I can do is to just sit in silence, invoke the power of peace, just be in meditation, be connected with the divine. And then there was another BK sister in the gathering. So seeing me, she did the same. So we were both just in silence. And this was going on for about 40 minutes. And then suddenly it was as if they felt another atmosphere in the room. And they just stopped. And it went quiet. And then someone said to me, Sister, what do you think? It was interesting. It took 40 minutes. It should have taken 5 minutes, but anyway. And I mean, I can't remember now what I particularly said to try. I must have said something to try and calm the situation. But eventually, in that very acrimonious atmosphere, another atmosphere of peace got through. And so the atmosphere is very, very important. And so what atmosphere do I want to carry around with me? And if I'm carrying around a good atmosphere, I will smile and I'll make others smile as well. And everybody's going to benefit. But it does take it a strength. It does take the power of tolerance. It does take some humility. But it's worth it. It's really worth it. And so, okay, I want to maintain this inner atmosphere of happiness. I want to be content with myself, which will then make me content with my life. And the more I'm content with my life and the more I love my life, the more I'm going to smile naturally. And of course, we need to have inner strength to do this. And that inner strength comes from two things, maybe three things, maybe more things. But first of all, I need to understand who I really am. And so when I understand myself, the spiritual being, and you've heard these talks, you know, the understanding that my original qualities are peace, are love, happiness, wisdom, light. Actually, this is who I am. And when we get caught up in our limited identities, and they're temporary, we then become reactive because we have to defend those identities. But when I'm in this bigger identity of who I really am on the inside, it's okay. Nobody can take away my self-value. When I'm in a limited identity of my profession, ethnicity, or whatever it is, it takes a second for somebody to take my value away through an insult. When I'm in my true identity, nobody can take my self-value away. I know my value and I know my own dignity. And so that's the first thing that gives us tremendous strength. And so we keep that inner dignity. And then the second thing, of course, when I do have some inner peace, when my mind is a little bit calm, it's then a very natural step to connect with God, with the source of peace. And ultimately, this is where we get strength from. And because people have lost that connection, people have become very weak. We are souls in this human existence, right? The soul itself has become weak, and so it gets very influenced by the negativity around it. I may say, today, I'm only going to see good, I'm only going to do good, and then somebody says something and, you know, you've lost it within half a minute. It's very interesting. I heard somebody explain the meaning of the holy month of Ramadan, and which is still going on, or nearly finishing. And he said that, of course, it's a time of fasting, a time of prayer, and there's the fast from sunrise to sunset. And he said, why fasting? Because then when we go to God, because our stomachs are empty, we identify with the poor and the needy and the hungry, and we take them to God with us. And then he said, it's also a fast of the eyes and the ears and the mouth and the taste, the tongue, so that you shouldn't see anything negative, hear anything negative, speak anything negative, and so on. And I really like that. And so when I connect with God, I can really have the inner strength. This is where we take strength. So that no matter what's happening around me, I don't then compromise my inner values, my inner happiness, and my benevolent attitude to create goodness around me. And I think the third thing is understanding. understanding and compassion that go together. And so when somebody is negative around me, maybe at me, I have to understand that it's not really them. It's not their true, real self. And what's speaking often is their inner hurt or their past trauma or their past experience. It's not the real them speaking. And I find that very, very helpful. And I say to myself, okay, what does this soul need now? If there isn't happiness, it means there is sorrow in the heart. So what do I want to do? If I react, I'm going to be increasing their sorrow. And if I maintain my inner goodness and I'm able to still be loving and I'm able to smile, I'm going to actually be able to be an instrument to take the sorrow out of their heart. And what could be better than that, right? What could be better? And I remember a very nice story of Daddy Janki, who many of you have met or know of. And she was somewhere and she's giving her talk and she's very, very lively and vivacious and happy in her demeanor. She has a lot of inner happiness. Well, passed on now, 4 years, nearly 4 years. And as she was speaking, there was a woman sitting at the back of the room and she was very miserable. And she was becoming more miserable. And then finally, excuse me, she burst out and she said, "What right have you to be so happy when I'm so miserable?" And Daddy just paused. And then Daddy said to her, "Well, if I also become unhappy, who would there be to bring you happiness?" And that really turned that lady around. It made her see another perspective just like that. And so she was able to begin that journey of taking the sorrow out of her heart. And I think this is, one of the things in our world today. We forget that this is actually the elevated task or the elevated action that we need to do for each other. If somebody's in sorrow, let me not create more sorrow for them, but let me find a way to take the sorrow out of their heart so that they can begin to blossom and be the real people they are meant to be. And so that they can begin to smile. And it's nothing more beautiful. Sometimes people who get angry very easily, what do we say? They fly off the handle. And yet at another moment, when they're in a different mood and you speak to them and you see their smile, it makes you feel so happy and you forget all the rest. So we need to keep that good vision of each other. We keep many memories inside, right? But what memories do I choose to keep? Either I can keep all the memories of the hurts of the past, and I may need help to let go of those, but often meditation is a good way to do that. I can keep remembering those sorrowful things of the past or the hurt from the past, or I can choose to remember the good things. I remember Daddy Janki saying once, "Nobody is ever as good as you think they are. Nobody is ever as bad as you think they are." And, this is what we tend to do. Either we criticize somebody and we can't even see one virtue in them, right? Or we think they're so virtuous that we can't see any other side and we put them on a pedestal. Both things are dangerous, actually, because in both things, I'm disempowering myself. But if I'm able to see them as a being in their original state of goodness and love them for that, then yes, there may be their good sides and their bad sides, but I won't get stuck on that. And something that is very important too in any situation, it's important as much as possible not to take sides. And people will come to you with this argument and the other person will come with that argument. And, I find often the only thing to do is just to listen. Because if I side here and I don't side there, or I side there and somebody's going to get upset somewhere, let me just listen and give love. But I remember when it was 9/11 and we asked Daddy Yankee to give a message, and, everybody was taking sides at that point. And Daddy she said several things, but the thing I remember very particularly, she said, now is not the time to take sides. Now is the time to have love and compassion for everyone. And that was so good, so true. And imagine in conflict situations, if that were possible, and there's so much conflict in the world now, then things would be very different. Ego, greed, the thirst for power has become so ingrained that it's like people have forgotten goodness, or the conscience has gone to sleep. But yet, it's possible to awaken the conscience. One of the hostages in Gaza, and I'm not taking sides here, but I'm just telling a story. When she was released, she said how she had been praying before and she knew something bad was going to happen to her. And it was only after she was taken hostage that she realized that the prayer she was saying was to avert war. And she felt God's presence, and she felt a lot of light around her, and she felt a responsibility to help other hostages. And she said one of the captors, at one point, he lit a candle and he put my name there. And she said, why have you done that? Why have you lit a candle and put my name? And he said, because when you're here, there's light. You bring light. Very, very moving testimony. I know so many things are happening, so I don't want to go into the whole situation at all. But it's just this principle that can I bring through faith? Can I really bring light into the darkest moments? And light is so precious. The Buddhist saying, don't curse the darkness, just light a candle. And that's what we need to do in this world right now. So if I want to maintain my smile and my inner happiness, I have to keep the candle flame alight inside. The light of my inner goodness, the light of my connection with God, the light of my understanding, the light of compassion, the light of that good atmosphere that will also uplift others. And then we can smile, and then we have the feedback loop, and we become more happy, and we smile more. And so it's a win-win situation. So some thoughts on the secrets of a smile. So let me stop there, and if there are any questions or comments from anyone.
I really like the idea about donating something that is troubling you. But if you're in pain or have bad health, how can you donate that?
Yeah, you don't want to donate your bad health to anybody else, do you? That's an interesting question. But I think what you can do is to, is to keep that constant, in a way. Actually, I'll tell you how you can donate it. It's not like donating to say, I'm giving my bad health to another person. But if you keep the faith that everything is going to be all right, it is like you're donating it away. And you could say, let me give it to God, let me give it to the divine, let me give it to the universe, but I'm not accepting that this is my permanent situation. I'm going to give it away, and I'm going to bring happiness in its place. And, you know, our state of mind has such a big impact on our healing. It really does. And yeah, I've seen examples of that where people have healed more quickly because their state of mind has been a very positive one. And where people get into this, oh, poor me, etc., it slows the healing, actually. So donate it in that sense of have the good thoughts. Thank you. Yes, good question.
Thank you for this. Hello. Just a quick question on tolerance, right? Everyone has different...
Can you hold the mic to you so we can hear?
Can you hear me okay now? Just on tolerance, one of the attributes or features you suggested, people have inbuilt or inherited sanskars, whatever you call it, driven by triggers and so on and so forth. What are the possible ways we can increase the tolerance and humility? Because they do get tested at different levels. And as you rightly said, depending on your own mood on a day, your tolerance level fluctuates. So how do we keep a constant higher level of tolerance and humility, especially dealing with difficult situations?
Difficult, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the question, how to keep a higher level of tolerance. And tolerance is a very important power because it's tolerance that enables us to use our virtues. So if I can't tolerate a situation, my honesty can go, my sweetness can go, my love can go. So it's very important. But tolerance isn't actually a thing of toleration in the sense of I'm tolerating this, because that's still a thing of sorrow in that. But actually, we have a very nice, the picture of these 8 powers is there, but the picture of tolerance is of a boy, could be a girl, but throwing stones at a fruit tree. And the tree in return gives its fruit. And so, again, the whole thing of donation, if somebody is giving me something negative, let me give something good in return. So not to think, how do I tolerate this, but more, what goodness can I give? And then that gives me something positive to do, something which has energy. And then you naturally you will be tolerating in a very natural way. And there's a very nice story of this from, I told it, I'm sure, before, but we were working with the city of Reykjavik in Iceland on a forum. We've been doing this now for 12 years, actually. But the very first forum in 2012, the mayor of Reykjavik was our host. And he's somebody, a very spiritual person. He's not mayor anymore, but was at that time. And actually, this was a party called the Best Party that came into power, executive power in the council, because they're actually rock stars, comedians. They weren't really politicians, but they felt a responsibility after the financial crash to do something. And they got voted in anyway. So he was sharing his experience, and he said, I was in the council chamber, and of course they did things very differently. So I was in the council chamber, and one man started berating me, insulting me. You're weak, you don't know what you're doing, all that sort of thing. And he said, at first, I felt the anger well up inside. And then I said, no, this is not good. So I calmed myself down. And the man finished. He got up to reply. And he said to him, he addressed the gentleman, I heard what you said. I heard your opinion of me, but I don't agree with you. I have a different opinion of myself. And you can do better than that. Calmed everything down. And then he said, I have a principle that if anything negative is coming towards me, I must counteract that with more goodness. And I thought, this is the power of tolerance. So let me give something better in return. And why shouldn't I? If I have dignity, I can do something more elevated. Otherwise, I'm just playing to the script that the other person's writing for me, right? You've said something, and that person expects an angry reaction. They expect it. And I'm very obliging. You want it? Here you are. But I lose my dignity in the process. And so, no, let me choose to do the opposite. Let me choose goodness. And it really has an impact. And, sometimes when somebody is angry, or I think, well, okay, that's your part to play right now, but it's not my part to play. My part to play is different. My part to play isn't to get angry in return. My part is a part of goodness. So in this way, you turn the thing around and you maintain the dignity that you have of yourself. Any other thoughts? It's raining, we keep smiling. Yeah, many places are desperate for rain, and it's okay. Yeah? Meditation? Okay. Okay, so let me share a few minutes of meditation so that we can go into that place of inner strength that will enable us to maintain our smile. So I sit comfortably, my feet on the floor. Take a couple of deep breaths. And just follow these thoughts. First, I say to myself, how can I develop my inner smile, my inner contentment? Can I come to a place of being where I love myself, I value myself, and I love my life? And even more, I love the world. To do this, I have to go deep inside to the core of my being, stepping away from all the many identities, the many roles that I play. Stepping away from all the reactions, stepping away from anything that causes me sorrow or discomfort inside. And stepping into my true self, the inner being of true inner goodness, inherent goodness. I am a being of peace. I'm a being of love. I am a being of wisdom. I am. I am an elevated being. And in this state of inner goodness, this awareness, the single thought, I connect with the divine, the one who is an eternal source of peace, an eternal source of love, an eternal source of truth. This connection gives me strength. Draw that strength into my being, empowering my inner goodness. My perspective on life begins to change. I know my true value as a being, a value that nobody can take away from me. I understand my task to spread inner goodness, to spread that goodness wherever I am, to uplift others, to bring them peace and happiness. This gives my life purpose, and in that purpose, there is contentment. I am a contented being, yet continuously learning and growing. And as I move through life with this awareness, I move through life with an inner smile and an outer smile. Thank you. Om Shanti. I am peace.
Thank you so much. I want to say thank you very, very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Center. And we really hope that you will come back again soon.
Oh, I'm sure.
And okay, I need to move here. Thank you. And I was thinking to say thank you to Sister Maureen. How about we give her one big smile from the heart? And that includes you who are watching online and those in the office and Capo. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I liked the point where I said, start the smile and create the loop. And that's probably what I'm going to keep doing and see the feedback. We can all practice that. And we are very familiar with the situations you talked about. And thank you so much for those tips on how to deal with them. So for next week, the topic is Attune to Your Inner Power with Sister Pretty. And on Mondays and Thursdays, we have meditation from 7 to 7:30. You can come here or you can watch online. On Sunday is also a meditation, but this one is online only. Sundays from 10 to 10:30. And on Saturday, this Saturday, is a self-esteem course from 2 to 4. That one is in-house only. Okay, I forgot this. The recommended books to accompany the talk, Stepping into Happiness, a nice little one, with Daddy Junkie. And the other one is Happiness Unlimited, with Sister Shivani. The shop will be open if you want to come and browse for these books and other things. So keep smiling. Why not? Thank you so much. We wish you a safe journey home and see you again soon. Thank you so much for being here too.